welcome to this very different way of marking Holy Week. Today is Maundy Thursday, the first of the sacred 3 days at the end of Holy Week as we prepare for Easter. Maundy Thursday is the night when we remember the mandate. It's where the word Maundy comes from. It's an English corruption of the Latin mandatum, mandate, the command. Tonight we remember Jesus' command. And the first command we may think of is how we think of this night. Tonight is the night when we remember the Last Supper, that last time that Jesus and his disciples gathered. And I'm in a little bit of grief over tonight. I love the way that we mark this at church. It's one of my favorite celebrations of the year. And it's hard not to be able to gather at our church to celebrate communion, to remember Jesus with his disciples. But what we're invited to instead may be a little bit closer to what Jesus and his followers felt that last week that they were together in Jerusalem. They gathered in an upper room, scripture tells us, and there were nerves. Folks knew that something was coming, and there in that upper room, Jesus gives his last teaching, and he breaks bread and shares it with them. After the meal, he passes around the cup, and he says, "Do this in remembrance of me." I had a professor in seminary, actually not at my seminary, at another seminary nearby, a Catholic seminary, who taught about that moment. We always say that in our Eucharistic prayers. When the priest prays over the bread and wine, they say the words Jesus said, "Do this in remembrance of me." My professor asked, "What is the this? What is the this?" We say that a sacrament signifies something beyond itself. But sacraments don't just point in one direction. It's not just about the bread and the wine. So what is the this that Jesus asks us to do in his memory, in his name? And Jesus says, "This is my body, offered for you. This is my blood, shed for you." What if the this that Jesus is asking us is to follow in his self-offering way, in his self-sacrificial way? My friend Jimmy Bartz, who's a priest now in Wyoming, but he and his congregation in California, where he was before, originated laundry love as we practice it at Holy Communion. And Jimmy liked to call his congregation, which was known as Thaddeus, St. Thaddeus, he liked to say that they were love-spreading difference makers. What if the this that Jesus is inviting us to is what he is about to do, to offer himself to make a love-spreading difference in the world? And tonight you're being invited to gather around a table to remember Jesus' last meal. If you haven't found it yet, on our website or in the recent emails, you can download a simple guide to Holy Week at home with some reflections for an agape meal, a love feast. Agape is one of the biblical words for love. It's that godly, self-offering love that doesn't desire to control, to manipulate, that is just self-offering love. So tonight you're invited to have an agape feast, to celebrate this story, to think through what it means to follow Jesus and follow Jesus' command. It's interesting because what comes to mind when we talk about Maundy Thursday, when we talk about the command, is that command, "Do this in remembrance of me." But in Scripture, it's actually a different command that we remember. That night, gathered round the table, after he had washed their feet, Jesus says to his followers, "Love one another. Love one another." That is the command. In these difficult days, how can we love one another? How can we make sacrifices? How can we offer ourselves out of love for one another? Happy Maundy Thursday. I hope tomorrow you'll join us at noon, between the hours of noon and 3 o'clock. We'll be airing our Good Friday service, a series of meditations by the clergy members affiliated with Holy Communion, and prayers and scripture readings. We'll be reading the Passion across those hours. We hope you'll join us. There's wonderful music from members of the congregation and from the choir. And then I hope you'll join us on Sunday morning at 10:30 as we celebrate Easter. It'll be a very different kind of Holy Week, a very different celebration this year. But I invite you to engage it fully. God bless. Keep the faith.